Alexander Sterling stared at the crayon drawing on his desk, a child's simple sketch of three stick figures holding hands. A tall man, a woman with long hair, and a small girl with a bright yellow sun overhead. In the corner, written in wobbly letters, "My family. Loved, Emma." His blood ran cold. He knew that name. 14 hours earlier, the cleaning crew arrived at Sterling Tower every night at 11 p.m., invisible workers maintaining the empire Alexander had built. He never saw them. Nobody did. That was the point. Discretion, efficiency, erasure of evidence that the gleaming offices ever got dirty. Except tonight, Alexander was still there. He'd been working for 16 straight hours, finalizing the acquisition that would expand his tech company into 3 new markets. His office on the 42nd floor overlooked Manhattan, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city like a conquest. At 11:07, he heard the service elevator chime. He ignored it, returning to his contract review. 10 minutes later, he heard something else. A child's voice, singing softly. Alexander looked up. Through his glass office wall, he could see into the corridor. A little girl, maybe 5, dark curls, wearing mismatched pajamas under a too-big coat, was trailing behind a woman pushing a cleaning cart. The woman was young, late 20s, moving with the exhausted efficiency of someone working her second or third shift. Dark circles under brown eyes, hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore the gray uniform of Apex Cleaning Services. The child, her daughter, clearly, was drawing on a small pad of paper, humming to herself. Alexander stood. Company policies strictly forbade employees from bringing family members to work sites. Security risk, liability issue, completely inappropriate. He should call security. Instead, he watched as the woman cleaned offices with meticulous care, the little girl following quietly, never touching anything, entertaining herself with crayons and paper. The woman would pause every few minutes, checking on her daughter with a tenderness that made something in Alexander's chest tighten. At 11:34, they reached his corridor. The woman saw him through the glass and froze. Alexander opened his door. "You're not supposed to have children on site." "I know. I'm so sorry." Her voice was steady despite obvious fear. "My babysitter canceled last minute, and I couldn't miss this shift. I'll keep her quiet. She won't touch anything. Please don't report this." Up close, he could see how young she was. How tired. The way her hand unconsciously moved to protect her daughter. "What's her name?" "Sarah. Sarah Chun. This is Emma." She placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. Emma looked up at Alexander with curious dark eyes, completely unafraid. Emma said. "Are you a giant?" Despite everything, Alexander almost smiled. "No, just tall." "How old are you?" 5.5. "Mama says half years count when you're little." Sarah's face flushed. "Emma, Mr. Sterling is very busy. It's fine." Alexander heard himself say. "Please my office. I'll work in the conference room." Relief flooded Sarah's expression. "Thank you. Really, thank you so much." He gathered his laptop and files, then paused at the door. What time does her shift end? 3 a.m. 3:30 in the morning. With a 5-year-old in tow, Alexander looked at Emma, already yawning, clutching her crayon drawings. "There's a sofa in my office. She can sleep there while you work." Sarah blinked. "I couldn't." "You can. The cleaning crew has 6 more floors after this one. She needs rest." He met Sarah's eyes. "Let me help." 15 minutes later, Emma was curled on his leather sofa, buried under Alexander's cashmere coat. Sarah worked quickly, professionally, while Alexander pretended to focus on contracts in the conference room. He couldn't stop thinking about them. About Sarah working until dawn with a kindergartner in tow. About the desperation required to bring your child to a night cleaning job. About how many times she'd done this before, hoping nobody noticed. At 2:47 a.m., Sarah finished her assigned floors. She collected Emma carefully, the child barely stirring as Sarah lifted her. "Thank you," Sarah whispered to Alexander. "You didn't have to be kind." "Yes, I did." The words came out rougher than intended. "Will your babysitter be available tomorrow?" Sarah's expression shuddered. "I'll figure something out." "That's not an answer." "With respect, Mr. Sterling, it's not your problem." She adjusted Emma's weight, the motion so practiced it broke his heart. "Thank you again. I promise you won't see us here again." She left before he could respond. Alexander stood alone in his office, city lights glittering below, thinking about a woman who worked until 3 a.m., and a little girl who'd called him a giant. He pulled up Apex Cleaning's employee records. Executive access gave him everything. Sarah Chun, 27, employed 3 months. Also worked day shifts at a diner in Queens, according to her tax records. Single mother. No child support payments in her bank records. Living in a studio apartment. Rent $1,650 monthly. He was closing the file when he noticed something on his desk. A piece of paper, carefully placed beside his keyboard. A crayon drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands. A tall man, a woman, a little girl. The sun shining overhead. In the corner, my family. Love, Emma. Alexander picked up the drawing with shaking hands, staring at that impossible family. At the child's innocent fantasy. A father, a mother, herself. Together. Happy. He knew Emma's full name from the records. Emma Chun. 5 years old. Kindergarten at PS 112. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that this drawing was both a gift and an accusation. A window into what this child wanted. What she didn't have. What he could give her. Alexander made a decision that would change 3 lives. He reached for his phone. Sarah's phone rang at 8:47 a.m., jarring her from 2 hours of sleep. Emma was already awake, watching cartoons with the volume low, eating cereal from their last box. Unknown number. Sarah almost didn't answer, then remembered last night. Mr. Sterling. The kindness that felt like a trap. Hello. Miss Chun. This is Patricia Moss from Sterling Tower Human Resources. Mr. Sterling would like to meet with you today at 2 p.m. to discuss an employment opportunity. Are you available? Sarah's heart stopped. An opportunity? He'll explain everything. Can you make 2 p.m.? Her diner shift started at 3. She'd lose 4 hours of pay. But you didn't refuse a billionaire CEO. Yes, I'll be there. She hung up, staring at Emma. Baby, I need you to stay with Mrs. Rodriguez today, okay? Emma's face fell. But you said no money for babysitting. I know, but this is important. Sarah would borrow money from her neighbor. Added to the growing debt she couldn't repay. Pray this meeting meant what she hoped. At 1:53 p.m., Sarah entered Sterling Tower through the front entrance for the first time. The lobby made her feel small. All marble and steel, and people in expensive suits who belonged here. She wore her only dress, 3 years old, and the flats she'd glued back together last week. Her reflection in the elevator showed exactly what she was: broke, desperate, out of options. Patricia Moss met her on the executive floor. Miss Chun, thank you for coming. This way. They walked to Alexander Sterling's corner office. He stood as she entered, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. Sarah, thank you for making time. Of course. She sat, back straight, refusing to look intimidated. He studied her with those sharp gray eyes. I'll be direct. I'm expanding my personal staff and need a household manager. Someone to oversee my home, meal planning, scheduling, maintenance coordination. The salary is $95,000 annually. Full benefits. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Weekends off. Sarah stopped breathing. I clean offices for minimum wage. I'm not qualified. You're overqualified. I've seen your work. You're meticulous, responsible, and you manage impossible logistics every day. He leaned forward. I'm offering you a chance to stop working 3 jobs. To have insurance. To spend evenings with your daughter. Why? The question escaped before she could stop it. You don't know me. This doesn't make sense. Alexander was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice carried unexpected weight. My mother raised me alone. She worked brutal hours, sacrificed everything, died exhausted at 53. I watched the world break her. His gray eyes held hers. I can't fix the past, but I can offer you a present that doesn't destroy you. If you want it. Sarah's throat tightened. What about Emma? What about her? Daycare costs more than I make. My house has 6 bedrooms. One becomes Emma's. There's a highly rated elementary school 3 blocks away. You'll both live on site. Meals included. He slid a folder across the desk. Contract details. Read everything. Take the weekend to decide. Sarah opened the folder with shaking hands. The salary alone was life-changing. The benefits, health insurance, retirement matching, education stipend, were impossible. I don't understand what you get from this. Someone trustworthy managing my home. Someone who won't steal from me or sell information to tabloids. Someone who understands the value of discretion and hard work. He paused. And peace of mind that Emma Chun gets to be a child instead of a night shift accessory. The words landed like absolution. Sarah pressed her hand to her mouth, fighting tears. This is real. Completely. Start date is flexible. I'm assuming you need to give notice at your current jobs. I need to give notice at all 3 jobs, Sarah corrected. Cleaning service, diner, weekend retail. I work 80-hour weeks, Mr. Sterling. This would be a chance to live instead of just survive. His voice softened. Take the offer, Sarah. You've earned it. She looked at the contract. At the promise of stability, safety, a childhood for Emma that didn't involve sleeping on office sofas at 2 a.m. Yes, she whispered. Yes. Thank you. You start in 2 weeks. Patricia will coordinate everything. Moving logistics, school enrollment for Emma, paperwork. Alexander stood, extending his hand. Welcome aboard. Sarah shook his hand, feeling the familiar warmth of his grip. I won't let you down. I know. She left in a daze, contract clutched to her chest. In the elevator, alone, she finally let herself cry. Relief. Gratitude. Terror that this gift might evaporate. Her phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Emma's drawing is on my wall. She has good instincts about family. A.S. Sarah stared at those words. At the impossible intimacy of a billionaire texting her personally. At the reference to Emma's fantasy drawing, the family that didn't exist. Except maybe it could. 2 weeks later, Sarah and Emma moved into Alexander Sterling's brownstone in the Upper East Side. The house was beautiful. Historic architecture, modern updates, more space than they'd ever imagined. Emma's new bedroom had windows overlooking a garden. Sarah's suite was twice the size of their old studio. The kitchen was a dream. Alexander was rarely home, traveling for business, working late. But when he was there, he was present. He asked Emma about kindergarten, remembered her favorite color, brought her books from his trips. Sarah caught him once, sitting in the library with Emma curled beside him, reading where the wild things are in different voices for each monster. Emma was giggling. Alexander was smiling. He looked up, saw Sarah watching, and something passed between them. Recognition. Possibility. Fear. I should finish dinner, Sarah said quietly. Stay. Alexander's voice was soft. Emma wants you to hear the story too. So Sarah sat, and they read together. 3 people pretending to be something they weren't yet, but might become. That night, after Emma was asleep, Alexander found Sarah in the kitchen. She's happy here, he said. She is. Thank you for that. I'm not doing this just for her. He stepped closer. I'm doing it for you too. You deserve rest. Deserve someone who sees how hard you work. Sarah's pulse jumped. Mr. Sterling, Alexander. This is a job. I work for you. Lines need to exist. They do. But lines can shift. His gray eyes were steady. I'm not demanding anything. I'm just saying. I see you, Sarah. And what I see is extraordinary. He left her standing there, heart racing, wondering if she'd just been offered something even more impossible than a job. 3 months later, Sarah woke to Emma's scream. She ran to her daughter's room, heart pounding. Emma sat up in bed, crying, clutching her stomach. Mama, it hurts. It really hurts. Sarah felt Emma's forehead, burning up. Checked her abdomen, rigid, tender. Appendicitis. She knew it immediately. She grabbed her phone, dialing 911 with shaking hands. Then called Alexander, who was in London for meetings. He answered on the first ring. Sarah? What's wrong? Emma. I think it's appendicitis. Ambulance is coming. I'm getting on a plane. Which hospital? Lenox Hill. But Alexander, you don't need to. Yes, I do. His voice was fierce. Keep me updated. I'll be there as fast as I can. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes later. The ER doctor confirmed Sarah's suspicion, acute appendicitis requiring immediate surgery. She'll be fine, the surgeon assured Sarah. Routine procedure. 2 hours, then recovery. Sarah sat in the waiting room, alone, terrified. Emma was so small, so scared. Sarah had held her hand until the anesthesia took her under, watched her daughter's eyes flutter closed. Now there was nothing to do but wait. At hour 1, a nurse brought her coffee. At hour 90 minutes, her phone rang. I'm landing in 20 minutes, Alexander said. How is she? Still in surgery. They said it's going well. I'm coming straight there. He arrived at 11:47 p.m., still in his London suit, looking exhausted and worried. He found Sarah in the waiting room, and pulled her into his arms without asking permission. She's okay, Sarah said against his chest. She's going to be okay. I know, but you're not. He held her tighter. Let me be here for this. At 12:03 a.m., the surgeon emerged. Surgery went perfectly. She's in recovery. You can see her in 30 minutes. Sarah's legs gave out. Alexander caught her, held her while she cried with relief. When they finally saw Emma, she was groggy but smiling. Mama, Alexander, you're both here. Of course we are, sweetheart. Alexander took her small hand carefully. We're not going anywhere. Emma drifted back to sleep. Sarah and Alexander sat on either side of her bed, keeping vigil. Thank you for coming, Sarah whispered. You didn't have to fly across the Atlantic. Yes, I did. Alexander looked at Emma, then at Sarah. Because she's not just your employee's daughter anymore. And you're not just my employee. Sarah's breath caught. What are we? I don't know yet. But I know Emma drew a picture of a family. Her, you, and me. And I know that every time I come home and hear her laughing, something in me settles. And I know that when you smile at me, I feel things I've never felt. He reached across Emma's sleeping form, taking Sarah's hand. I'm falling in love with both of you. Have been since the night I saw you protecting her at 2 a.m. Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks. You're a billionaire. I cleaned your office. This doesn't work in real life. My mother cleaned offices. I grew up watching her suffer for it. His voice was rough with emotion. I built this empire so I'd never be powerless again. So I could protect the people I love. Let me protect you. Both of you. I don't need saving, I know. You need partnership. Someone who sees your strength and matches it. Someone who will hold your hand in hospital waiting rooms and read bedtime stories and build a life that honors what you've already survived. He squeezed her fingers gently. I'm applying for that position. If you'll have me. Sarah looked at their joined hands. At Emma sleeping peacefully between them. At this impossible man offering impossible things that felt suddenly, terrifyingly real. One condition, she said. Anything. No more heroic gestures. We do this as equals. I'm not a project or a rescue. I'm your partner. Alexander smiled, the expression transforming his face. Deal. Though I reserve the right to occasionally fly across oceans when our daughter has surgery. Our daughter. If you'll let me be that. Eventually. When she's ready. When you're ready. His gray eyes were soft. Now, vulnerable. I want the family in that drawing, Sarah. Want it more than any business deal or acquisition. But only if you want it too. Sarah thought about the last 3 months. The way Alexander taught Emma chess on rainy Sundays. The way he asked Sarah's opinion on everything from dinner menus to business strategy. The way he looked at both of them, like they were his North Star. I want it, she whispered. I'm terrified, but I want it. He stood, came around Emma's bed, and kissed Sarah softly. We'll build it together. Slowly. Carefully. Right. Emma stirred, eyes opening. Are you kissing? Like in my drawing? Sarah laughed through tears. Yes, baby. Like in your drawing. Good. I drew us happy. We should be happy. 6 months later, they were. Sarah managed Alexander's home and discovered she loved the work, the logistics, the creativity, the partnership. Emma thrived at her new school, making friends, bringing home A's in art projects. Alexander learned to leave work at reasonable hours, to prioritize bedtime stories over conference calls. They moved slowly, carefully. Family dinners became tradition. Weekend park visits. Movie nights curled together on the sofa. 1 year after that first night cleaning offices, Alexander proposed in Emma's presence. Because she was part of this, part of them. Sarah said yes. Emma cheered. They married quietly. City Hall ceremony. Emma as flower girl, Patricia Moss as witness. The honeymoon was postponed indefinitely because Emma had a school play, and neither of them wanted to miss it. On their first anniversary, Emma gave Alexander a new drawing. 3 stick figures holding hands, taller now, more detailed, but the same essential family. In the corner, my real family. Love forever, Emma. Alexander hung it in his office beside the original. 2 drawings, 2 versions of the same dream. One imagined, one built. Sarah found him staring at them late one night. What are you thinking, she asked. That sometimes the best investments are the ones you can't calculate. He pulled her close. That kindness compounds. That love grows. That's very poetic for a billionaire. I have good teachers. He kissed her softly. A daughter who believes in happy families. A wife who taught me what partnership means. They've made me better than I ever was alone. Sarah smiled, thinking of that desperate night. Emma sleeping on a sofa at 2 a.m., Sarah terrified of being caught. Both of them invisible. We're not invisible anymore, she said. No, Alexander agreed. We're home. And they were. The three of them. A family built from crayon drawings and midnight kindness and the radical belief that everyone deserves to be seen. Emma's drawing had predicted it. Alexander's heart had chosen it. Sarah's courage had built it. Together, they made it real.